Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Perhaps some of you have seen my out of the theater review of Godzilla Minus One. And what I'd like to do today is simply expand that into a full review with an emphasis on talking about the post-war time period and setting. The film opens with Koichi, who is a kamikaze pilot in the closing stages of World War II, landing his plane on a small island that serves as a base for kamikaze pilots. And immediately the mechanics start to look at his plane. He claimed that there was something wrong with it. Of course, when you go out on kamikaze missions, you're not supposed to come back, so he starts getting the side eye from the mechanics, and in short order, they are attacked by a creature that the local fishermen call Godzilla. Now, this attack is by a scaled-down Godzilla. He's not full size yet, and in a way, he's even more terrifying this way. This is an exciting confrontation, and it establishes that Godzilla, even in the smaller stages, is a vicious antagonist. Now, during the attack, the lead mechanic, Tachibana, he encourages Koichi to jump into his plane so he can use his large caliber guns that the plane has against the creature as they're pretty much getting wiped out. But Koichi hesitates, which results in the death of the rest of the mechanics, except for Tachibana, who is not too happy about it. We then see the guilt-ridden pilot return home to the rubble of his former neighborhood, where he's confronted by his angry neighbor, ex-neighbor named Sumiko, and she basically blames him for the death of her children, considering that he was a kamikaze pilot and he really wasn't supposed to come home at all. Eventually, they do she kind of calms down a little bit and they become friends, or at least friendly. And then he also begins a relationship with a woman named Noriko, who has been accused of stealing, and he kind of helps her out. And she has a little girl with her, and she's raising this girl as her own. And one of the things that Godzilla Minus One does so well is it really recreates what it must have been like to have to rebuild your life out of the actual rubble of your former neighborhood. And what, like, you have to deal with the immediate concerns of just finding food and getting enough powdered milk on a daily basis to feed a hungry child. And then as they become a little more settled and begin to fix up basically the shack that they live in, they start taking any jobs they can get. And Koichi actually takes a job on a ship designed to destroy leftover mines. And it's one of those things you don't think about. Okay, the war's over, but the ocean is full of mines from all sides. So there's a really good scene where he meets this crew, and they're really just a very good cast of characters. And it's a fascinating look at the kind of problems and solutions that the country has to develop in the aftermath of war, using the technology at the time. And even when Godzilla does finally attack again in his larger size, his full size, as he's now been exposed to more atomic bomb testing, it's really cool to see the military engage him with the weapons of the time. And it's also kind of cool to see them, it feels like a Toho movie, but you don't have the cut to the little models getting stomped on, the tanks and the trucks with the giant spinning radar dishes and shooting microwave beams and all this stuff. They actually look like tanks, and of course they're no match for Godzilla. And it's here where Koichi, before the Godzilla attack, begins to experience a sense of purpose again. Him and Noriko, along with Sumiko's help, developed into kind of like a non-traditional family unit, helping to raise the child. And this is almost to the point of taboo, and of course, this very formal culture. So it raises some eyebrows amongst his coworkers, but they're doing it out of necessity. And just when they're glimpsing a ray of hope, in stomps the new, atomically enlarged and enhanced Godzilla to stomp all over everyone's dreams. These action scenes on land and in the water are really exciting, and they really convey a sense of terror that the population is experiencing. We've seen crowds run away from Godzilla before, but there's just something about these ground level shots where the pavement is cracking open with every step that really is kind of terrifying. There's also a really great sequence where Godzilla is chasing the ship in the ocean, and they have to attack it with whatever weapons they have at hand. And then we learn that this Godzilla is capable of something that perhaps has been hinted out in other films, as they have sort of experimented with his powers and abilities in the past, but it did kind of catch me by surprise for sure. And then later when he is attacking the city, there's a great sequence where Noriko is on an elevated train that gets attacked. And, there's been a lot of really great train sequences in kaiju movies, but this is really one of the best ones. It's a great scene. And Koichi is eventually recruited into a civilian led effort where a group of ex Navy men are developing a Hail Mary plan of sorts to defeat Godzilla that's pretty much a clever callback to the oxygen destroyer from the '54 film. Not exactly the same. In fact, it's actually much more audacious, I think, because it requires Koichi flying a special prototype aircraft that was never put into service during the war. Now, having said that, this is an experimental plane that never saw service and it needs a mechanic. So, guess what? If only Koichi knew a good plane mechanic. So, we're going to have some of that human drama from the beginning resurface. A lot of the human interaction, the human conflicts are really good in this. They're not there to fill time. They're there to move the story and the characters along. I'm a little somewhat disturbed that some people are saying that the in-between parts are boring. In my quick out of the theater reaction, I said that this film was about characters, not caricatures, and I stand by that. They're not having them say quirky and funny things as a counterbalance to the action scenes. These are really good scenes. And I think the scene where the Navy men get together and sort of come up with this plan, they kind of ask for volunteers. Some people sort of step out of the room. It's basically, I think any disenfranchised or marginalized group can sort of identify with this scene. There's a real theme of finding your purpose and redemption in the film, and that even extends to some of the secondary characters. I know that's something that Casey from Interweb Kaiju said in his review, that it had really good secondary characters, such as some of his mates on the boat. So go ahead and check out Casey's review. And I do want to point out another scene I haven't heard too many people talk about. It's rather brief, but it's very significant, especially in the psyche of the Japanese population. There's a scene where it actually rains black rain, and that is highly significant because that is an actual occurrence that happened after the atomic bombs were dropped. And if you remember, of course, there's a film named Black Rain, and there's even a scene where the Michael Douglas character sort of gets a dressing down from the one gangster who basically, blames the West for a lot of things and says, "You made the rain black." Well, that same year, coincidentally, there was another film called Black Rain in Japan, which is a very serious look at the post-war Japan, and it is a rough one to watch, I'm telling you. And it's by the director Shohei Imamura, who specialized in the Japan of the late 1940s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. It's some of the sort of the darker elements, and he kind of examined the psychology of post-war Japan. And his movies are not for the faint at heart. I took a deep dive years ago, and it really says something about this film, a Godzilla film, that it actually kind of reminded me of his films, that it sort of hinted at some of those same events. Did it go that deeply? Was it that excruciating to watch as far as the human elements go? Not quite, but not too bad, not too shabby for a kaiju film, I'm telling you. Well, that's my review of Godzilla Minus One. I hope you enjoyed it. I put a little more effort into it this time. The out of the car reaction, or excuse me, out of the theater and into the car reaction that I did has gotten more views than any other video on my channel. I think people are really interested in this film. I know Professor Macabro said that they're now going to show it in Mexico, so that's good for him, good for everybody. I'm probably going to either see if my sons are interested and buy them tickets, or go with them and see it again. So if anyone wants to discuss this further in a live stream or something, let me know. Maybe we can set that up. Now, real quick, but wait a minute. Was there anything about the film you didn't like? Okay, there were some little things maybe that I noticed, but these little things really aren't really a big deal when the rest of the film is so good. I thought maybe I haven't heard anyone say this, but I thought maybe his eyes seemed a little lifeless at times. I mean, better than when back in the old days when they made his eyes like kid friendly. They went, in some of the later films. And then some people have commented on, the way he moves on land is like a little mechanical or something. Some people have said that they like the way that Shin Godzilla was filmed, where they filmed him from a distance. I kind of like this better, but yeah, there may have been some little things, but really not a big deal. And my gosh, 15 million bucks, amazing, just amazing, really good stuff. I mean, I really hope this film just keeps getting more attention, and some people who normally wouldn't watch this take a chance on it and check it out. Can't recommend it enough. There you go, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. And what are your comments about the film? Please let me know in the comments below.